In those days, everything was live. There was no tape. Tape hadn't been invented yet. And cameras were big. Cameras were 4 times as big as the cameras they use now. Cameras they use now are about 2 shoeboxes. Well, these things, one man couldn't lift the damn things. And yet we had to make all those moves and change positions, overshoot, shoot across each other, cameras. And so it was a strange kind of choreography that was required to keep the cables from getting twisted, from people to bump into each other, for people to know what camera they have to play to. The rehearsals were really complicated. But amazingly enough, it nearly always worked. Very seldom were there was a lot of sloppy framing. Pictures overlapped the set a little bit and all that. But the big thing was to get through, particularly the hour shows, event shows. When they were live and everything worked, when you got all the shots and no one screwed up on the dialogue, and you got out on time so that the commercials didn't crowd up at the end and everything worked, and the director stood up and to give the last order, and he'd say, "All right, put the stuff away." That was the way one of the guys. All this used to close, especially when we were operating out of a truck or a control room. Well, it was like almost like the Yankee dugout. Guys would jump up and hug and slap and laugh and cheer, and it was really celebration when a program was over. Everyone felt, by God, we pulled it off. And then we'd all go out and have dinner and drink too many martinis. But with modern television, you can't do that. Usually, the director closes it and says, "All right, now everybody back in an hour, because we have to insert laughter and we got to do all this stuff to fix it." But those programs never got fixed. They went on, and of course, the audience was different, times were different, requirements were different, but it was fun. One time, Hoban, I remember, the director, wanted a crane, a Fearless crane, which is as big as a sofa, and with a crane that rises up along off the floor, so he could get shots from top down and move it back and forth. Very graceful piece of equipment. It can be used very gracefully. And the crane was ordered, and then it wasn't this month. It delayed, and manufacturing delayed again, and shipping. And finally, the crane arrived, and Hoban wanted to use it right this week. And there was no place in the studio because our cameras were grouped in the middle of the studio, and the sets were around the show, so we could go from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock around the studio. And here was this huge piece of equipment by our standards, and it took up all the room. And that week it happened that we didn't have anything special for another girl singer, Betty Chappell, to do. We were going to have her just stand in front of a painted flat, sing her song. And I said to Hoban, put her on the operator's seat and turn the camera head around on the crane, so that when it moves, the whole studio will swim behind her. Well, Betty Chappell sat there singing this stupid love song with the set moving 360 degrees behind her. We got calls from New York. "How did you do that? What?" And we said, "Well, we've been working on it for 6 or 8 weeks to get it down." Nothing.
Brilliant.
It really worked, but you could take those chances. So.